Let's talk about what the best lens is to use on the gimbal. Hello everyone, welcome to another video. My name is Mario So, and I create weekly content on filmmaking, gear review, editing tutorials, and all of that fun stuff. If that's something you think you'll be into, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Today, let's talk about what the best lens is to use on a gimbal. And I want to share with you my thoughts on why I've been using a lot more a telephoto lens to put on my gimbal recently. If you've been shooting on stabilizers for a while, whether it was a gimbal or a Glidecam or a Steadicam, you're always encouraged to use a wide lens. I remember when I first got my Glidecam HD 2000, I believe, I shot on a Nikon D800. The primary lens that I used to have for that Glidecam was the Tokina 11-16. And it was really nice because it was really wide, and it was nice to put it on your Glidecam or on your gimbal. I've always learned since my early days filming weddings that using a wide lens on a Steadicam or on a stabilizer was the best thing to do. And maybe that was because wide lenses tend to be a little bit on the lighter side, and maybe the motors on gimbals right at the beginning were not as strong, and maybe for a variety of reasons, easier to frame, easier to follow, and to get rid of shakiness with a wide lens and things like that. When you use a wide lens on a gimbal, every small movement is going to look very nice. Another reason why using a wide lens is preferred on a gimbal is because autofocus on a wide lens tends to be a lot more forgiving. And if you can't manually focus your lens, or if your autofocus on your camera is not that great, having a wide lens is going to help that or hide the fact that certain parts are out of focus. And also a wide lens, especially on a gimbal or on a stabilizer, it's good to set the scene, and it gives you a sense of the location that you're in. After a while, I started putting a zoom lens on my gimbal. I really liked the shots that came out of my gimbal at longer focal lengths. So here are a few reasons why I've been starting to use the telephoto lens more on a gimbal. But before we continue, let me know in the comments below, what was your first stabilizer? Was it a gimbal? Was it a Glidecam, a Steadicam? Let me know, I'll love to hear about it. So using a telephoto lens is going to make your subject look a lot more pleasant and natural, as opposed to a wide angle lens. When you get really close into the face of your subject is going to look distorted, and it's not a pleasant look for a person. Unless creatively that's something you want to go for, then that's pretty cool too. But that's why the 50 to the 85 range is usually called the portrait range. And that's because it makes people look more pleasant and more natural. With the longer lens, you also get a compression effect, and there is more depth between the subject and the background. And that's why you get more of a pronounced blurrier background too. And when you add movement to this, you can get very cool parallax effects in which the background is moving a lot faster than your subject is. And you may have seen this in a lot of movies like the Transformers, or some of these really cool orbiting shots in other movies where the background just seems to move real quickly and the subject seems to pretty much be staying on the same spot. So having that parallax effect gives you that illusion that the background seems a lot further than it actually is. And this can be used in a variety of scenarios to add more complexity to your shot. And these are just some of the many reasons why you should try to experiment putting a telephoto lens on your gimbal if you haven't already. And not to say that you should be using a telephoto lens on your gimbal all the time. It's always good to experiment, try different looks, different focal lengths, and try to add different types of movement to your shot to add variety and make it more engaging. And with anything, practice makes perfect, and experimenting with different looks and shots can make your video stand out and look different. So when I used to shoot weddings, actually, I used to love shooting on a zoom lens because I could get that wide establishing shot, but I could also zoom in when I wanted to and get a quick shot of something perhaps that was further away from me, or perhaps I wanted to create that sort of parallax effect on the gimbal on a telephoto lens. A 75 usually gave me that effect. So that's why, even though a 24-70 lens was a lot heavier on the Glidecam and on the gimbal that I was using, it was definitely worth it. So if you made it to the end of this video and if you haven't subscribed, then it's probably a good idea that you subscribe. And if you haven't liked this video and you're still watching, just hit the like button. It will be greatly appreciated. So that's it for today's video, guys. Until next time.